Hello. In this video we're going to show you how to use the content editor built into your XSite to create and edit the pages of your site. Now the same content editor is available in XSellerate to help you edit the ads that you send out in your mass marketing efforts, and also available to help you publish blog articles on your XSite's blog. But today we're going to focus in on how you would use that editor to update the home page on your website. Everything that we're going to demonstrate today, we're going to demonstrate from an appraisal version of our XSite system. But if you are a real estate agent, broker, or mortgage originator, it's still going to apply equally to you. The first step is, of course, to log in. So we're going to log into the back end of the XSite. From here, we need to get into the XSite wizard. So we click XSite. And specifically, we need to jump to the My Content step. That's here in the content pane, so we click My Content. And from there, we're going to see a list of all the pages that we can publish on our website. Right out of the box, your XSite's going to come provided with a variety of different pages related to your industry, so that way you don't have to think up everything that you want to say on your site all by yourself. Now, despite this, we do recommend that you go in and customize the content that you're going to use on your site, and in particular, the home page. If you want to, you can even go in and create your own custom pages, and if you need to do that, you just click Add New Page here in the Custom tab to create a blank page that you can edit from scratch. Just like that, you can also create buttons on your website that do nothing more than link to other web pages out there on the internet. If you want to do that, just click the Link to External Page button and fill in the details of that link. Now we're going to start by editing the home page. To edit any one of these pages, all you have to do is click the name of the page, and it will open it up in our content editor so that you can modify it. So in this case, we'll click Home. And now we're ready to go ahead and edit this page. The first thing you'll notice about the content editor is that it breaks up the content of your page across several sections. The first section includes things like the button name and web address, which provide two different ways for your visitors to access this page, even in different languages. In addition to that, the first section also provides a basic overview of how many people have come to this section of your page in the last several days and how many leads you've taken in the last 90. The main section, called Page Content, includes the body of your page, including the text, paragraph, pictures, and other tools that you embed into the page to interact with your visitors. In addition to just basic content, the content editor also includes what's called dynamic content, which is this list of widgets here on the right-hand side that either provide or request information from the people visiting your site. It can also include something called a client data capture form, or if you're in the mortgage or agent markets, it's also referred to as a lead generation or lead capture form. But in all cases, it is the same thing, and that is a form that you put into the page of your site to request information from your visitor. RSS feeds are a way of adding a news feed to your site so that you can have a list of current news articles or events trailing down at the bottom of any page of your site without having to go in and update it yourself on a daily basis. And of course, at the bottom, we provide a list of search engine tools so you can interface with search engines like Google, Yahoo, and any other search engine and provide information about this page of your site. To get started, we need to edit the basic information about the page, including the button name and web address. The button name is the label that appears on the button that someone would see on your site to get to this page. So you want to make sure that it's clear as to what page it will take them to. The web address is just about the same, except instead of clicking a button to get to the page, someone would type in the exact web address they see here, including the slash and what you type into this box. The button name and the web address should be about the same, but any web addresses should be without spaces and a few other types of punctuation. It's best to keep them the same, primarily without punctuation. You can edit the button name and web address in English, Spanish, French, or the other languages that you may be providing on your site. Just choose the option for that language to edit the button name and web address in that language. In the upper right-hand corner where we have page views and leads, we do give you a breakdown of how many people have visited your site and contacted you through your site in the last 90 days. The one thing you need to keep in mind about the leads count here is that it's always going to say 0 unless you've included a lead capture form on this page of your site. If someone can't contact you through this page of your site, after all, there's no way that you can get a lead through that page of your site. Once you've done that, you can move on down to the main page content section. And the first thing you need to do is choose the language and template that you want to use to start editing the content in your site. To choose a language, go to the drop-down menu and pick the language that you want to edit your site in. As a reminder, we do not do auto-translation since auto-translators aren't quite up to par with a professional standard that you've come to expect in your own language. And so you will need to edit the content in other languages if you want it to be the same as it is in English or whichever primary language you're using on your site. Once you've selected a language, you should also select a template to start from. Depending on the page you've selected in your site, we may provide 2, 3, 4, or even 5 templates that you can choose between as starting points for the content on your site. Since this is the home page, of course, we provide more templates than what you can find in other areas of your site. But if you want to switch the content of your site, you simply choose the template that applies most directly to you. At any point, if you need to, you can also blank out the content of the page by just clicking blank page, and it will start you fresh with an empty copy of the content editor so you can write up all the content yourself. The first thing I want to talk about is how you'd insert an image into the content of your page. If you want to insert a picture into your page, all you need to do is put your cursor where you want the image to go. Then you can insert one of two kinds of image. You can either insert a picture you've taken yourself or a piece of clip art. If you want to insert a picture you've taken yourself, you just click this icon that looks like a sun, sky, and mountain. When you click it, it's going to show you a list of all the pictures you've uploaded to your site already, and as you click through each one of those, it's going to show you a preview on the right. If you need to upload a new file, click the Upload Image tab, then click Browse, and browse out to the picture you want to upload to your site. If you need to, you can even go get several images all at the same time. In this case, I'll just get one, and then upload it. And again, you find the picture that you're interested in putting into your page, and when you're ready to insert it, click Insert. Now, it's not uncommon for you to run into the same situation I've run into here when you insert a picture you've taken yourself. In this case, the photo's way too large for the size of this page, so we need to scale it down. The way we scale it down is by clicking it, and then grabbing a hold of one of the image handles on the edges of the image. Since we only have one here in the upper left-hand corner, that's the one we'll use, and we'll drag it down and to the right to scale down the image. Once you're happy with the size of the image, you may need to adjust some other aspects about it. For instance, you notice here on the right-hand side of the picture, there's a bunch of white space. If you run into this and you want to adjust it so, say, the text streams down the right-hand side of the image, you can just right-click the image and choose Set Image Properties. In this dialog that pops open, you can go to Image Alignment and then choose an alignment for the picture. In this case, let's try left aligning it. So we just choose this icon here that looks like the text is left aligned. When we hit OK, the image lines itself to the left and the text streams down the right-hand side. But we still may not be happy with the overall look of this image and the text. For one, you notice that the text and the image are almost completely flush, so we need a little extra space between the two. For another, since we're using bullets here, it's not exactly visually appealing with this photo left aligned, so we may want to move it off to the right. Let's go ahead and do that. We right-click and choose Set Image Properties again. We can go back and choose a different alignment, like right alignment for the image. Then if we want to put a little extra space around the edges of the image, we can adjust the horizontal spacing or the vertical spacing. In our case, the biggest issue is the horizontal spacing, so we'll add about 5 pixels worth of padding here. What you need to know about a pixel is that it's the smallest possible square your monitor can create to compose the big image on your screen. So you may need several of them. When you hit OK, it's going to adjust everything that you've changed, and now if you're happy with the image, you can move on. As I said, you can also import clip art into your page, and if you want to do that, again, you just put your cursor where you want the clip art to go. Then you're going to click this icon that looks something like a small puzzle. When you click it, it will show you a list of all the files you've uploaded to your site in addition to our clip art library. If you click the clip art library, you can flip through all the different types of clip art that we have. Now, of course, we have several buttons that come pre-provided with your site, but we do have standard pieces of clip art with anything from pictures of houses with money to pencils and people. When you find a picture that you're happy with, just click Insert to place it into your page, and just as we did with the other photo, if you need to adjust the size of your clip art, grab one of the image handles to scale it down to the right size. At some point, you'll need to add a table to a page of your site. You can use tables for the basic reasons, like creating a list of fees or rates, but you can also use tables to create advanced page layouts. For instance, you might want to create an image gallery with thumbnail images in each of the cells of your table that you can click to access the larger version of each image. If you need to add a table for any reason, just put your cursor where you want the table to go, and then click the drop-down arrow next to the table-looking icon in the content editor. When you do that, you'll have two different options for adding tables. The basic way is just to hover over the number of table cells that you need, up to a 6x6 size table, and then click to place the table. If you need a more advanced table, click Table Wizard, and you can control every aspect of the table by hand. It will start you with a standard 2x2 size table, but if you need to, say, make a 3x3 size table, you can add a column and a row by just clicking the plus next to columns and the plus next to rows. If you wanted to do something more advanced, like extend this left-hand cell across the top of the table, then you'd need to increase what's called the column span. You could click any one of these three cells and then click the plus next to column span to extend it across the top of the table. That works just as well for rows across the left or right of the table. If you need to extend one of these cells, just click one of them to highlight them and click the plus next to row span to create the table. At this point, if you wanted, you could insert the table by just clicking OK. But if you needed to control advanced settings about the table, like its width, height, alignment, cell spacing, or borders, you could go to the Table Properties or Cell Properties tabs to do that. In this case, we'll just go ahead and click OK to add the table. And now, you may need to adjust its size. To adjust its size, you click it to select it, and then grab one of the image handles and drag it until it's the size that you need, just like if you were resizing an image. From that point, you can go directly into any cell by just clicking inside the cell and typing or adding pictures as you need to. At some point, it's a guarantee that you're going to need to use a hyperlink in one of the pages of your site, and there are several types of hyperlink you might want to put in. For one, here's the most common type of hyperlink, which is just a link to another web page on your site. But in addition to that, you can also include a link to a file that's on your site, or a link to another page in your own XSite. Regardless of the type of link you need to put into your page, your XSite supports it. If you want to create a basic link just to take somebody to another website, again, you just need to put your cursor where you want the link to go. Or, in a common case, you may actually want to take some text or a picture to insert that link into. Just for an example here, we're going to select the word mortgage, and we'll convert it into a hyperlink. To do that, we've selected the word mortgage, and now we're going to click the icon that looks like a globe with two chain links together. In the Hyperlink Manager, all you need to do is type in the link to the website you want to link to. Then, you probably should also adjust the target. The target of a link determines exactly how that link opens whenever somebody clicks it. Now, there are 4 different types of target you can choose between. Same window, which causes somebody to leave your site and go to the site that you've typed into the URL box. New window, which causes another window to pop open on their screen so that they're running your window and this other website at the same time, and then frame and iframe. Frame and iframe are probably best understood by just taking a look at exactly what it is they do. So just for a moment, let's go ahead and go back to the front page of my site, and we'll take a look at what an iframe and a frame would do. You notice at the top of my site, I have a header all the way across that says Dawkins Appraisals with several buttons in it. If I were to create a link that took me to another website in a frame, this entire header would stay. Everything below the header would disappear. If I chose an iframe, it would work almost the same way. The header would stay, and the navigation button on the left-hand side would stay, but everything else would disappear in favor of the other site. So really, what you're doing with a frame or iframe is blending your website with another website. Of course, that brings with it its own set of problems, because not every website out there is going to blend well with yours. It may have a different color scheme, it may be left justified when your website is center justified, or it could be center justified when your website is left justified. Since you can't guarantee exactly how the two websites are going to look when you blend them, it's usually best just to stick with same window or new window. A general rule of thumb is that if you're linking to another website that some way traces back to you, you should stick with same window. If you're linking to another website that does not trace back to you, go with new window so that you don't cast the visitor right out of your site. We're going to choose New Window in this case, and it's going to insert the appropriate code for a new window into the target field here. Then when we're ready to insert the link, we just click OK. But before we do that, let's take a look at the Email tab and talk a little bit about exactly what that does. The Email tab is a unique kind of tab that will create a hyperlink that opens an email on somebody's computer addressed to you with whatever subject line you happen to type. At first blush, this sounds like a great idea, but unfortunately, it doesn't work so well in practice. The reason behind that is pretty simple, and that's that this kind of link relies heavily on the software on your visitor's computer. In particular, it depends on the email client that they're using to manage their email. The problem with this, though, is that these days there are a lot of online email services like Yahoo, Gmail, and Hotmail that don't even require an email program for you to use them. Instead of opening up an email program and sending out an email, for Hotmail, Gmail, and Yahoo, you just go out to their website, log in, and manage your email from there. For those types of visitors who visit your site, they're not using a default email program on their computer, and so if they were to create an email using the link on your site, it would just go in their outbox and never leave their computer. If you need to ensure that every email or contact that somebody tries to make to you through your site gets to you, what you should use instead is a contact form. Now that we've talked briefly about what that is, let's go ahead and insert this hyperlink back to alamode.com. As you can see, the word mortgage is now linked to alamode.com. But there are still other types of links that I might want to use at some point as well. For instance, I may want to link to another page of my own website, just in case I'm talking about a topic, PMI for instance, that I've better explained in another page elsewhere. And that's pretty simple. If we want to insert that kind of link, all we need to do is put our cursor where we want the link to go, or again, we can select a word or picture that we want to embed the link into. Then we go to the Custom Links drop-down menu and select from one of the 2 or 3 types of content that are available. In my case, even though I'm in an appraisal site, I have a set of listings pages that I can link to because I also happen to own agent and broker sites. For anyone who owns just an appraiser site or just a mortgage site, though, you'll just have these 2 types of content here, my selected content and non-selected content. So that begs the question, what is non-selected content and what's my selected content? If you want to find out, the best way to do that is to go back to the My Content step. From the My Content step, you notice there are a bunch of checkboxes next to each one of the pages you can use. Anyone with a checkbox in it is selected content. Anyone without a checkbox selected is non-selected content. So back here, if we go to Custom Links, let's choose a page of our non-selected content, and there's that About PMI page I talked about earlier. If you click it, it'll insert the words About PMI along with a link to that page, and it works the same way for any one of the pages in that Custom Links dropdown. Now there is one last type of link that you might want to create at some point in time, and that is a link to a file. Before we actually insert a link to a file, let me just give you a quick primer on best practice when you're providing files on your website. At first blush, the temptation is to take whatever document you have, whether it's a Microsoft Word document or Excel document, upload it to your site, and link directly to it. The problem with this, though, is that not everybody has Microsoft Office, or even a program that can open Office files. You need to distribute your documents in a format that everybody can open, and there is an industry standard for that. It's Adobe's PDF format. Now, you've probably opened PDFs before. Most computers that you can buy on the market these days do come equipped with a PDF reader right out of the box. And if they don't have PDF readers on their computer, it's a pretty good chance they're not able to read a lot of content on the internet, so that's the safest choice. Of course, you need to be able to create PDFs in order to post them on your website. If you need to create a PDF, the best way to do that is to get a PDF software creation tool. And you can either go straight to the source and buy one from Adobe called Adobe Acrobat, either the standard or professional version, or you can go out to Google and do a search. A lot of times if you just go to Google and do a search for something like PDF Creator, you'll get a long list of free services that you can download to create those PDF files. Regardless, once you've got the documents ready and you want to put them onto your site, all you need to do is again select some text or a picture that you want to embed the link into. Or again, just like we did a second ago, if we want to, we can just put our cursor out there in the open and let the XSite embed the link for us. In this case, that's what I'm going to do. So my cursor's down here, and to insert the link to the document, I need to click this icon that looks like a document with a paperclip on it. When you click that, it's going to show you a list of all the files you've uploaded, whether they're pictures, PDFs, Word documents, or some other format. In order to select and embed that link into this page, you just click the document. So I've got a PDF here. By clicking it and hitting insert, it puts a link to that file on my website right into my page. Before we move on to talking about some of the other content types you can add to a page, I want to talk for a minute about some of the advanced tools we provide here in the main editor. Those include tools to do things like add HTML code, flash content, or movies directly into your page. The first step in adding any of that kind of content to your page is to get that content from either a local provider or a website. Let's start by talking about HTML code. If you want to add HTML code directly to your page, or access it so you can edit it directly, you just click the two carets at the bottom of the editor. When you do that, it will flip to HTML mode, at which point you can go in and edit any of the existing code or paste in your own. One of the best examples I've seen of a reason to edit HTML code would be when you want to do something like put a widget on your website that keeps track of the local weather forecast and updates it as each day passes. If you wanted to get that kind of code, frequently you could get it from a local weather website and then paste it into the back-end code on a page of your site. To flip back to the word processing mode, you just click the pencil. From there, if you want to go in and add something like flash content or a movie, you can use one of the two tools at the top of this editor. For flash content, use the one that looks like a white circle with an F on it. In order to upload flash content, you first have to have a local developer design you what's called a SWF file. That's the standard file format for flash content. It could be anything like a button or a form or some other type of interactive widget that you're going to embed into a page. Once you have that flash content, just tell your local developer to log into the editor and click this icon. At that point, they can upload the SWF file and set the preferences about how the SWF file should play. Movies work about the same way. If you need to upload a movie and embed it into your page, you click the icon here that looks like a wheel with several colors and a play button. When you click it, you can upload the movie and set your preferences about whether it should automatically replay, loop, and how wide and high it should appear on the page. Since each of these concepts are relatively advanced, we're not actually going to use examples in this video and show you how to do them. If you need assistance, it's often best to contact some local help. Before we move on, I'd like to take a minute to talk about copying and pasting from Microsoft Office. That sounds like a great idea, but in practice it doesn't tend to work out too well. And there are a lot of reasons why, but the main one is that Microsoft formats the content in Microsoft Word, for instance, a lot differently than the Internet does. That's not something specific to XSites, it's actually an Internet-wide problem. And so if you want to create some content in Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, and then paste it into the editor on your XSite, we actually have a special tool you should use to do that. It's this little clipboard here that looks like a W. It's a paste from Word tool. What it does is strip out all the formatting that Microsoft has put into the Microsoft Word or Excel format and paste in plain text, sometimes even with the paragraph formatting. While that sounds like a step backwards, it's actually a step forward, because if you do that, you can format all of the content so it appears exactly the way you want it to right here in the editor. Then, when you save the content and go back to edit it later, you don't have to worry about formatting changes or inconsistencies in the way that the formatting appears on the front end of the site and the back end of the site, because you aren't conflicting with the formats that have come over from Microsoft Office. One of the most popular things you can add to a page of your site is what's called dynamic content. It's this list of tools here on the right-hand side of the page. If you want to add dynamic content to a page of your site, just scroll down past the main content editor and check the box for dynamic content. Then, click Customize to select the different tools you want to embed into this page. While we do provide some specialty tools for real estate agents and mortgage brokers, everyone has this same core list of tools you see here. They include things like the Inman News. If you want to include links to the articles from the Inman News site, just check the box for Inman News and select the number of articles you want to embed into the page. You can also include things like mortgage calculators. If you want to include a mortgage calculator, just check the box for mortgage calculator. If you want to see exactly what that mortgage calculator will look like, you can take a look at the one here on the right-hand side. It's actually a live preview that you can use to calculate the mortgage in just the same way that somebody would calculate it if they were to use it on your site. Mobile notifications seems to be one of the most popular tools because it provides a way for somebody to send you a text message on your cell phone directly from your website. If you want to add this kind of text messaging tool into your site, you first need to go in and enable text messages for the users in your XSite. If you're not familiar with where you need to go to do that, inside the main XSite area, you go to My Office and User Management. Then you just fill out each profile and be sure to fill out your cell phone number, cell phone provider, and enable the option to allow text messages to be sent to your phone. And then you'll be able to receive text messages through this tool. Just scroll down and from the list of users, select the person you want to receive the text message. Then if you want to, you can check the box to send an automatic response to the person who sends you the text message. The last thing you need to do is just select the icon that you want to use to indicate what's going to happen. Then you can move on to some of the other tools like National Rates. National Rates is exactly what it sounds like. It's a list of the national average mortgage rates provided by Freddie Mac. If you'd like to include those on your site, just check the box for National Rates. Custom content is another popular item because it gives you free reign over the content on the right-hand side of your page. Just like the regular editor lets you control the verbiage, paragraphs, and pictures on any page of your site, this custom content editor does the same thing exclusively there in that reserved right-hand side column for dynamic content. If you want to use it, click Show Editing Toolbar to get to all of the toolbar buttons, and then type up the content just as you would in the main content editor. The last item, Important Links, allows you to go in and include important links to different websites or pages of your own site. If you want to use it, just check the box for important links, then give the important links list a title that indicates to your visitors what kind of links they're going to be clicking, and click New Link to start adding new links. Then give each link a title, and either type in the website address to the page that you want to link to, or click a site page and select a page out of your website if you want to link to another page inside your XSite. When finished, just click Done, and then remember to customize the positioning of the tools you've selected. In this case, I've selected the mortgage calculator, mobile notifications, and national rates, and so if I want to change the order that those appear on the page, I click Customize Positioning. From that point, you can just drag and drop each of the tool names in the position that you want them to appear, and when you're finished, just click Save. Then click Save Changes, and in the main content editor, you'll see all the tools appear and order themselves according to your selections. Something else that you might want to embed into a page of your site at some point in time is what's called a lead capture form or client data capture form. These are simply forms that you can provide on your site to collect information from the visitor on your site, including contact information and other questions. If you want to include one of these forms on a page of your site, check the box for client data capture, or for those of you with real estate agent and mortgage websites, it's probably labeled lead generation form. Then click Customize to go select the form. In the drop-down list, you'll see a full list of provided contact forms, along with any that you've created as custom forms for your site. And then check the box to indicate whether or not you want to include an autoresponder when somebody fills out this form so that they know that you did receive the form successfully. If you need to create a new kind of form so that you can include it on your website, you can do that as well. But if you need to learn how to do that, you'll need to go to our lead generation class where we discuss that in full detail. On the right-hand side of this screen, you notice there's also a way that you can assign the contact information from this form directly into a specific contact group. This will help you do things like assign that contact into a specific XSellerate campaign, or just categorize your contacts so you can find them more easily when you go to look them up in your contact manager. If you need to assign them to a contact group, select one of the contact groups from the list here on the right, and then click Save. One of the most mysterious items you can embed into a page of your site is what's called an RSS feed. Everyone always wants to know what RSS stands for, and it's a technological term meaning really simple syndication. In the real world, what that means is it's simply a news feed provided by another website that you're embedding into a page of your site. This doesn't necessarily have to be a news feed provided by a dedicated news site. Instead, it might be some kind of news feed provided by a local site that keeps track of events in your area. If you want to include this kind of event list or news feed in a page of your site, you first have to go get it from a website. Just as an example, we'll use the New York Times' website. On the New York Times' website, we're going to look for an RSS feed. To find an RSS feed, we need to look for an orange icon. It may say XML, it may say RSS, and sometimes it may say other things like Atom, A-T-O-M, but it will always be an orange icon, and many times will include what looks kind of like a broadcast symbol. If we scroll down on the page, we should be able to find it. And here it is. An orange icon labeled RSS, and this one does have a broadcast symbol. When you click these icons, different things can happen. In this case, you can see there are several RSS feeds provided by the New York Times website. This feed itself is not RSS, but if we need to go get an RSS feed, there are plenty of icons for smaller sets of articles that we can include on the site. If we just want, say, the business news, we can click the RSS link next to business, and it will give us the RSS feed. Every web browser that you could use will display RSS a little bit differently, but in the most common one, Internet Explorer, this is what RSS looks like. Many times, for RSS feeds, you'll see that they end in .xml. That's one surefire way to know that you're dealing with an RSS feed. Once you've found one, you just select it in the address bar, copy it. In this case, we'll use Control and the C key to copy it. Then we'll go back to the XSite page editor, check the box for RSS feeds, click Customize, give your RSS feed a name. In this case, we'll go ahead and use New York Times. Then click Add RSS Feed, paste in the link, or Control V, click Add Feed, and then click Save. That will then embed a list of articles provided by the New York Times website into the bottom of your page. If you want to see what it looks like, we can go take a look at it on our home page now. Here's a list of RSS articles provided by the New York Times. It will look a little bit different for your site, not just in terms of color scheme, but also in terms of the articles that you select. Every RSS feed provides different information depending on what the company is willing to part with. In the case of the New York Times, they're willing to part with the article title, some information about when the article was published, and a short one-liner that tells you a little bit about what the article contains. What they won't part with is the full article itself. So you notice that we have a lot of dots below each article. That's where that information would normally go. It's not up to your choice as to what information you actually post on the page. It's entirely dependent on the RSS feed provided by the company you select. So it may not look ideal on your website, but there's no way of knowing until you actually try it out. The last part of the content editor that we're going to discuss is this search engine tools section at the bottom of the page editor. It appears in every page of your site, and you can control the title, keywords, and page description separately for each page that you edit. While it is one of the most popular things that you can control, it's often not as effective as some other means of marketing your site. In order to understand fully what we're looking at here with page title, keywords, and description, it's best to go ahead and take a look at it from the perspective of a search engine like Google. Just as an example, we'll go to google.com and search for real estate. As you can see, there are a long list of links all around, but in the main links, also called natural search results here, we've got several different things occurring. We've got page titles here in blue with links off to that exact page, and short descriptions just below those so that you have a little more of an idea of what it is that you're linking to. Both of those are items that you have some control over in Yahoo, Google, and other search engines because they're editable here on your site page. The page title is the blue link you see at the top of any Google search result right here. And the page description, in many cases, is this list of black text below the title. It's not a guarantee that this black text below the title will be the page description, because Google and Yahoo sometimes will take a snippet out of some other place in your page. But it is the only thing that you can guarantee will show up in many searches that are done where you show up as a result. The keywords are commonly misunderstood. What they are is a way to ensure that people can find you by typing these different phrases into a search engine. The problem is they're often abused. There's several ways that you can abuse keywords. One is by including key phrases or keywords that don't have anything to do with you. For instance, I've got the words commercial appraisal here in my keyword list. If I'm not a commercial appraiser and I have the words commercial appraisal in my keyword list, then I'm actually not doing myself any favors because I don't have anything on my web page that actually talks about commercial appraisal. Another way to abuse keywords is by doing what's called keyword stuffing. You don't want to include too many keywords in this list, because the more that you include, in many cases, the more you're docked placement by Google and Yahoo. As a general rule of thumb, you want to do several things to keep these keywords accurate. Firstly, make them as accurate as possible to the content of this specific page of your site. Not to your site as a whole or to your company, but to this particular page. So in the case of a page about, say, PMI, you'd want to make sure that your keywords were pertinent to PMI. Also, you want to make sure that the keywords are relative to your business, because if they aren't applicable to your business, it hurts your placement as well. And you want to limit the full list of keywords to somewhere around 400 total characters. The page title and page description should also be equally focused. You want to make sure that they're focused so that they talk about the content of this specific page, not about your entire site. The more focused that your title, keywords, and description become, and the more that they overlap with the content you've typed in the main body of your page, the better your search engine ranking will be. Off to the right, we've got other tools that allow you to do things like submit the page to search engines or add it to sitemaps and the footer of your XSite. While it is pretty popular to check the box to submit the page to search engines, it is something we also recommend avoiding. When you check that box, it does submit your site to search engines. At least it will one time. That used to be the primary way that search engines would find out about websites, and so it is still available here in the website editor for those older search engines. But most of the larger search engines like Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft have their own ways of finding pages on the internet these days, and by submitting your website out to those services, you can actually dock your placement. If you'd still like to get your website into those search engines in a hurry, the better way to do it is to add those pages of your site to your Google and Yahoo sitemaps. If you want to do that, check the box for this page, add it to your Google and Yahoo sitemap, and then sign up for Google and Yahoo sitemap accounts directly on Google and Yahoo's sites. They are free accounts, and we do offer direct integration with them, which you can get to through the Search Engine Tools section of your website. Just to reiterate where that is, you go to the XSite drop-down and choose Search Engine Tools to get to that information. You can add it to a generic sitemap as well for those other search engines other than Google and Yahoo by just checking the XSite sitemap box. No additional setup is required to use that. Down below, you can also include it in a link to your XSite footer. What that will do is twofold. One is it will add it to the bottom of your footer for the sake of people reading through full pages on your site. It'll make it quite a bit easier to find the important pages of your site, because no matter whether they're at the top or bottom of your page, those links will always be available. They'll also make those same links available and searchable for Google and Yahoo, and so they can sometimes increase your search engine ranking as well. If you need more information about search engines, we do recommend going to our search engine classes, like driving traffic and some of our other marketing classes. Whenever you're done editing the content of a page, just click Save and Close to add it back into the main content area of your XSite. From that point, if you'd like to include that page as a button on your website, just check the box next to it and it will appear as a button on your website that somebody can click to access the page. If you'd like to include the page on your website but not make it accessible as a button, just leave the box next to each page that you want to include that way unchecked and click the link for the title of those pages so that you can note down the exact web address to the page. Then you can reference that page on any advertisements, signs, business cards, or other materials where you want people to be able to find that address and access the page. While we do provide a long list of provided content, tools, and videos that you get with your site, you can also go in and create your own custom content. If you'd like to do that, click the Custom tab, and then click Add New Page to open up a blank copy of the content editor where you can come up with the page's title, web address, and content from scratch. If all you're looking for is just to add a button to your site that links to another web page out there on the internet, you can do that as well. Just click the Link to External Page button, and a miniature version of the content editor will appear. From there you can give the button a name, a web address, and while we do provide search engine tools for you on such a page as well, it's really not useful for something that just links to another page on the internet. So all you would do is just type in the exact link to the website that you want to send the person to, and pick from one of the 4 provided ways to open the link. Again, just to reiterate, if you're linking to another website that does not trace back to you and a website that you do not own, open in a new window is the preferable option. If you're linking to a page of your own site, it's probably best to go ahead and select Open in Current Window. And if you have a specific reason to, we also do provide the iframe and frame options we discussed earlier. Then, just as you did with a regular page, just click Save and Close to add that page to your site. That covers just about everything we can tell you about the content editor, but there's still a lot more you can learn. Come check out the webinars at alamode.com/training to find out more information about your XSite's tools and utilities.